Okay, today we're going to be talking about the introduction to 3D shapes. You can find on the Canvas page a drawn out chart with all of the 3D figures that you need to know for this chapter, and today we're going to go over all the faces, edges, vertices, and nets for all of those shapes. So we're going to start out with the cube. Remember, a face is the flat surface in which is on the shape. So when we have a cube, I'm kind of coloring in the front face. There are 6 faces on a cube, and I've colored in one of them. When I talk about an edge is what surrounds the cube. And so around one face, there is 4 edges. So if I'm kind of tracing over all of the edges on a cube, I have 4 on the front, 4 on the back, and then I have the 4 going around the middle. So there are 12 edges on a cube. Vertices are the points at which all the edges meet on any shape. So if I zoom in, the vertices on a cube are all the points on the cube. So there are 4 vertices on this cube. When I go to draw the net, the kind of the unfolded version of it, since there are 6 faces and a cube is made of all squares, when I draw the net, I'm going to draw 4 squares attached, and then you can draw the other 2 faces in any part of the net. I always tend to draw them equally the same, so we know, and of course this is not going to be perfect, this is a drawing. Of course these should be squares, not rectangles. You're going to have, I'm actually going to draw this again and make it a little bit smaller and less rectangular. And when I draw that, I'm going to divide this into as evenly as I can 4 sections, and then that's 4 faces. So I need 2 more on each side. It does not matter where you draw those side faces, but they do need to be coming off the side, because if you were to fold this up into a box, you would need 2 faces to kind of come in on the sides of the box. Okay, looking at a prism. So we have a couple types of prisms here. We have a rectangular prism, we have a triangular prism, and we have a hexagonal prism. So let's name the faces, edges, and vertices first. So a face, remember, is what I'm coloring in. So if I count around a rectangular prism, I have 6 faces. If I go around the edges, remember edges are the lines or the dotted lines. So that's 4. There's 4 on the back side, and then 4 going around the middle, so that's 12. And then those vertices are the points on the shape. So there are 8 of those. And I accidentally made a mistake on the cube. There's not 4, because there's 4 on top, 4 on the bottom. There are 8 vertices, so go back and change that. All right, so with your 6 faces, edges of 12 and vertices of 8, we're going to draw the net. So you do have to be a little careful on the rectangular prism when you draw it, that you're actually drawing 6 different rectangles, and I would just try to draw it the best you can. What I tend to do is I draw a larger rectangle. I draw a skinny rectangle going down. Then I have to mimic that, because remember, we're unfolding it. So I do the larger one, and then I do the skinny one, and then on one of the larger boxes, I draw the side rectangle that would fold inside, and then the other side rectangle. Moving along to the triangular prism. So with the triangular prism, it's a little bit different. Again, the face is still the flat surfaces on the shape. So I have a front face, I have a back face, and then there are 3 going around the center that you have to visualize. So that means it has 5 faces. For the edges, I have 1, 2, 3 here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then my vertices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When I unfold this into its net, I have 3 rectangles going around the center. So what I like to do is visualize that with 1, 2, 3 rectangles laid out, and then those triangles coming off the end. A hexagonal prism, looking at its faces, I have the hexagons on top and bottom, kind of like a base. Kind of coloring the top base or face in. And then we have that bottom one. And then it has a bunch of rectangles going around the sides, so you're going to want to count those. So we have 2 so far. And then we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because I have 6 going around the center. So there are 8 faces. When I'm counting its edges, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on just one hexagon. And I know I have 2 hexagons, so that makes 12. And then I go around the center, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 edges on a hexagonal prism. Then looking at my vertices, all those points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because there are those 6-sided shapes, so I have double that, 12 vertices. When I unfold this into its net version, do your best to draw. You're going to draw, this is a little tricky, you got to kind of envision it. You're going to have a hexagon, so 6 sides, and then off that hexagon, you're going to have all these different shaped, well, there are congruent rectangles, and it's okay if this is not perfect. And then you need that other hexagon that's kind of flapped over the top. So I always say draw it attached to that bottom rectangle. So it looks a little funky as a net. Moving on to pyramids. So we do have a few pyramids as well. We have 3 of those. One of them being a square pyramid. So when I look at the faces of the pyramid, we always have a base on a pyramid because pyramids come to points. So I have 1 base on the bottom, and then I have 4 of those going around. So there are 5 total faces or flat surfaces on my square pyramid. And then when I have edges, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 edges. Careful counting the vertices. Remember, pyramids go to points, so I have 1 up top, 4 around that base on the bottom for a total of 5 vertices. When I undo this net or unfold the shape, remember I have to have a square. I'm actually going to move that down, and then off each square, kind of think of it like a banana peel. You're going to peel off 4 different triangles that would have made up those points of the net. A triangular pyramid has a triangular base versus a square base. So when I'm looking at the faces, I know it's sitting on a triangle, so that's 1. And then it has to have 3 triangles coming up the sides, so that leaves it with 4 faces. Tracing out the edges, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then for the vertices, I have my points at 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you make the version of this net, remember any triangle will do, but I have try to mimic what's over there. So there's a triangle there, and then peeled off each of its sides are 3 more triangles. A hexagonal pyramid means I have a hexagonal base. So that base has 6 sides, but it counts as 1 base. And then coming from each of those, I have a face. So that means if there's 6 sides on the shape, there's 6 faces up to the top, plus the 1 on the bottom makes 7. Tracing out its edges, 6 on the bottom, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then for the vertices, that shape comes to 1 point, and then 6 on the bottom, which makes 7 total vertices. When I unfold the net, I'm going to draw my hexagon first. Do your best to draw a 6-sided figure. And then each of those has a triangle coming off. So you draw these 6 faces that are a triangle, and it ends up kind of looking like a sun. All right, the next shape we have is kind of all on its own, and that is a cone. A cone has a base on the bottom that counts as a face. It's circular. And then this shape here doesn't really look like a face, but if you unfold a cone's bottom piece, it is a rectangle. So it has 2 faces. And so I'm gonna actually draw the net next so you can see the edges and vertices. So we have a circle on a cone, and then coming off of it, because I have that cone, it has a rectangle that comes down, and it's in the shape. I lied. It's a triangle that wraps around that circle. Still 2 faces though. How many edges does it have? It has 1 edge going around the top of that cone, and then these 2 edges kind of meet on that triangle to make the bottom of that looks like an ice cream cone. How many vertices? Well, it only has 1 point. It's right there. And we're done with the cone. Looking at the cylinder, and this is our last shape. Cylinders are actually easier to look at when you build the net, so we know that it has a circle up top. This is the one that has that rectangle that builds the center of that. So I'm going to draw myself a rectangle as best I can with a circle on the bottom. That kind of makes our cylinder. So to look at the net is actually easier. How many faces? It has 1 on top, 1 on bottom, and then it has that rectangular face in the middle of 3. It has 2 edges, and it has 0 vertices, and that is